So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the episode 22nd of Gyaniki Tech Talks. Today, we are joined with a very enthusiastic personality who is really ready to make waves in the Indian electric vehicle scenario. A true ecosystem player. We are joined with Mr. Irfan. And before we start, I'll just give a brief background of Irfan. While his face obviously looks like an engineer, he's an alternative medicine practitioner by qualification, an environmentalist by passion, and an entrepreneur at heart. Irfan is a leading thought leader of EV adoption in India, and we at Gyaniki had also recognized him as one of the top EV voices in India. There is a humble startup venture that Irfan has started, which is called eBike Go, which was founded in 2017 and has really played through the last few years to become the EV revolution and future of mobility in India. Irfan grew up uncomfortable about the sluggish reality of India's civic reform on environment preservation. And that's what the passion led him to set up the eBike Go. And as the founder and CEO of eBike Go, which was also given the Startup of the Year award in 2019, today, Irfan is playing a leading role along with eBike Go into electrifying India with smart EV vehicles that power the last mile delivery ecosystem in India. And that is going to be something that we will hear about more from Irfan today. Irfan's humble yet charismatic leadership style and grassroots approach makes him the people leader, always seeking growth, challenging the status quo, and inspiring his team to be go-getters of his ambition for a pollution-free world. And that's the ambition we would like to learn more from you today, Irfan. So welcome again, and we would like to hear more about eBike Go as we get into the session.
Thanks. So, good morning, everyone. Shekhar, I'll present my screen, so I'll turn off my video.
Yes, yeah.
Let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Thank you so much, guys. So, as you know that I started eBike Go in 2017. So the purpose behind I lived my most of the part in Himalayas. So I worked as a wellness consultant at the same time. One point of time I worked as an environmentalist for almost 6 NGOs. I started one NGO. So in that point of time, actually, I realized that something is happening in terms of the ecological imbalance, global warming, all those things. So which hits me a lot. So, given a thought to fix something for air pollution. So at that point of time, I looked at air pollution. So most of the contribution come from vehicular pollution. So when I thought to fix vehicular pollution, so I thought to start the massive, vehicles in India, which is two-wheeler. So then I thought to fix two-wheelers. So I am looking for some alternative vehicle solution, which is, which happened to be electric. So at the same time, when I started this venture, I started thinking about B2C. At the same time, when we did sort of R&D, we realized that the actual the disruption is happening in B2B, not B2C. Because in India, there are 30 million two-wheelers, up and running on road. In that, actually 11.4% to very precise. So has been utilized for delivery ecosystem. So these guys are consuming almost 1.5 liter petrol every day to commuting parts, delivering parcel or thing. So that's the reason we avail this scooter first phase one for the delivery executives. That's why actually we arrive at India's largest last mile delivery company through EV. So right now we have 2,400 vehicles. So we are delivering almost 10,000 deliveries. So we have 100 plus investors in terms of HNIs and franchisee investors. At the same time, our revenue grew 200% amid pandemic. So India's number one electric mobility delivery company. So we present at 7 locations. National delivery partners for 10 largest companies, including Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy, Zomato, so on and so forth. So through our franchisee program, so we made like almost 1,500 plus entrepreneurs. So who deployed these bikes in our platform where they can able to earn more. So this is my core team. So it will take some time. So I'll give some sort of idea. So we have strong leadership team, including Kedar and Ritu and Vinay Gunashekar and all those things. All those guys are having strong background. Kedar, worked for Johnson Control. He masters in Cincinnati. He lived US for almost 19 years. So he left his job just because he got convinced when I pitched him that we can do some disruption in terms of transforming um, the fossil fuel vehicle to electric. So then he joined us. At the same time, Vinay Gunashekaran, so he mastered in Carnegie Mellon. He worked for MathWorks. So these are the leadership I have in my team. So when you see global market, global logistics market is somewhere around like 10.6 trillion. So it's split with three different vertical. One is first mile, mid mile, last mile. So I aware that everyone know about these terms. So, but when you see the last mile is like very dense and very popular. So, but when you come to last mile, so most probably it happened through a two-wheeler or three-wheeler. So, but when you see in India, so most of the time these two-wheelers are petrol vehicles. So India addressable market is like right now 12.5 million last mile deliveries are happening. In that, actually, you can see like due to pandemic and other things also from past 3 years is growing 30%. So expected EV penetration, according to McKinsey, is like 30% by 2030. So it's definitely it will increase. So current problem in this industry is like the delivery companies are burning huge cash, on fuel and operation. At the same time, the driver attrition is very high. So at the same time, managing last mile density. If say suppose if some festival is coming, so it's that point of time if they need delivery executive at one point of time 800 1,000 deliveries, so it not able to happen. So at the same time, delivery executive, the challenges is like they are getting low wages and working for 2 hours. So compulsory asset ownership. So if you want to become a delivery executive, you have to own an asset. So at the same time, huge spend on fuel. So if they work for 12 hours, they used to spend on like almost uh, 150 to 200 rupees. So which is like almost 30 to 40% of their daily income. At the same time, you also know that if you are running against environment, so environment will definitely be great. So 3 million petrol bikes used in last mile deliveries, commuting 70 kilometers average a day. Half of the million tons of CO2 is emitted. These are the broad problem. So we at eByGo, what we are giving as a solution. So we are saying like our model is like alternative last mile delivery powered by eByGo ecosystem. So when you come to EV, everybody having a problem that everybody knows that it is not switching vehicle, it is switching ecosystem. Altogether, you are coming from petrol to EV. So when you switching to ecosystem, right now, no OEM are focusing to deploy the ecosystem in terms of charging, swapping, service, all those things. But what we did, we strongly believe that without ecosystem, the EV adoption won't happen. That's the reason when we started to build this sort of connected integrated mobility platform. Through that, we develop our own IoT, we develop our own charging infra, we develop our own service centers. At the same time, we developed an app called eByGo Awesome, which is like operating system for electric mobility. This make like any normal electric vehicle to smart electric vehicle. That's why we called ourselves as a intelligent mobility as a service. So how it works? We built a platform called eBikeGo One. It's a aggregation platform for all the logistics and the e-commerce company. In that platform, when delivery executive come, we don't ask any sort of question. He need to download this app. Then what we do? So we give this vehicle after doing his sort of like background check in terms of verifying their Aadhaar card and all the driving lessons, so on and so forth. So in a traditional methodology, what he has to do, he has to buy the vehicle and put petrol. But here we are offering this vehicle for free. So we attach this vehicle along with the driver. So we give this app through this app, so he can able to switch to anyone. Like if you want to deliver for Swiggy, a whole day he can deliver for Swiggy. So next day, if he see the Swiggy don't works for him, he can work for delivery. At the same time, if the delivery don't works for him, then he work for Amazon. Sometimes what he able to do, like he can mix with two apps. For example, if we got Swiggy app, so if the peak times are like morning, afternoon, and evening. In that peak time, if he won't get deliveries, at the same time he can use his idle time in terms of like delivering big basket or delivering dunzo like that. So this is called as a hyper local delivery model where a person also contribute his time for not only one company. At the same time, he can contribute his time for two companies. At the same time, he can earn more what he was earning earlier. So this is EBG Matics. We developed in-house, as I said, like my co-founder CTO, Mr. Kedar Soman, as well my head of technology, Vinay Gurushekara. So these guys are having a great pedigree. So they developed this app. Through this app, you can make any vehicle to smart vehicle. So through this vehicle, we can monitor the vehicle, track the vehicle. We can do like rider assessment, like in terms of we can track the rider behavior as well as vehicle behavior. So same time it got like smart BMS as well. So it's a plug and play device. So this is a robust IoT charging stations. It's very small smart plug. We installed 160 smart plug across the country. So wherever our hubs are there, so we install these chargers so that our delivery executive won't get that anxiety whenever he has to go. So we obviously we have the removable battery, detachable battery where he can swap. But the only thing right now, we don't allow him to charge at his home because everybody knows is the property of lithium ion is sort of dangerous. So tell someone to take those battery and charge it their home. That's why we are providing this fast charging station. It's completely IoT enabled, as I said. So it's got that QR code where he's having that EBG money balance. So through that, actually, he can just scan and he can pay the charge, whatever he's doing for short gap. So we partner with Volta and we are doing some sort of pilot in different locations. So at the same time, we are in talks with Mr. Mini. So we are going to deploy this, swapping station across the country because right now we are available in 7 cities. So recently we raised fund. So we are planning like almost to penetrate 30 cities and everywhere we will planning to deploy this swapping station where we can also swap. At the same time, we open for anyone. So who is buying those EV from different OEMs. So we are making the compatible battery form factor where anybody come and swap the batteries. So this is like we built our own service centers. So how it works, I'll explain. So we are not deploying any service center. So we are trying the existing, petrol mechanics. So we made like sort of a 14 hours online course where he'll come and log in. So it's a multi-language course. Right now it's available in 6 languages, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Marathi, Kannada, Hindi. So in that, actually, what they do, and they'll come and they learn about EV. So typically, most of the part, like it's look like a petrol fossil fuel vehicle, but most of the parts are like very different in terms of like having motor controller, battery, and gearbox. So we able to make them as a absolutely ready for fixing that EV. At the same time, we give some vehicles, as you seen here, to fix them. After fixing them, we verified their quality. At the same time, we are giving as an authorized e-bike go service partner. So how it works? Basically, we have like almost uh, 22 hubs in 7 cities. Every hub we kept some vehicles. So in that vehicles, ideally what they do, like any delivery executive. So we don't denominate the delivery executive. Through our platform, anybody can come and become like a delivery executive. This tough time during pandemic, it's worked very, very effectively for these guys who want to earn some extra money. In that, actually, you can see last week in Bangalore, so many doctors used to, deliver our last mail packets to someone. So it's also, give us a confidence that anybody can become a delivery executive right now. So we are using the hyper asset utilization model because we are monitor the vehicle through our IoT. At the same time, we are optimizing the resources because you also know that producing the resources is make a huge environmental impact in terms of producing carbon emission. So that's why actually we are using same vehicle for 3 different purposes. Our vehicle start running from 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning. So these guys used to come like. Those who are using with this vehicle to deliver newspapers and dairy products. At the same time, they drop their vehicle at our warehouse at 9 a.m. Then we'll charge this vehicle for 1 hour or half an hour. Then again, this logistics e-commerce guys will come and pick this vehicle at the nearby warehouse, and they do delivery services for almost 6 to 7 hours. Then they drop this vehicle. Then again, we'll charge. Again in the evening times, those who are working for as a painter, carpenter, or any other mason work, those guys will come and pick this vehicle for 4 5 hours to deliver food or the hyper local. So these we had demonstrated last year. So here you can see like in 2019 we did almost 7 lakhs deliveries. In 2020 till April we did 14 lakhs delivery. Even though pandemic, so our delivery increased and partnerships increased. So till December, we did almost 21 lakh deliveries. So these are some notable customers, so which we are catering our rendering our services. You can see like Amazon to Flipkart, Myntra, everybody is there. So this is the carbon negative expansion what we are looking for. For this, actually, we partner with SKS Cleantech. So that we know that if you are charging this vehicle through grid, so it will also create the same impact which fossil fuel vehicle are creating. That's the reason we last year we partnered with SKS Cleantech. So through that, actually, what we do, we are charging our vehicle through the clean energy. In that, what they do, so they take our batteries and connect it with the solar panels. They charge our batteries and give back to us. So right now we are started in Mumbai. So definitely we'll replicate the same model in other cities as well, where we have. At the same time, we identified this 30 cities where you can capture the solar energy. Definitely through solar energy, we can able to run our vehicle. So in this place, the last mile demand also very, very high. So this is some sort of comparison. So it will take time, but I will show only some points. Here you can see like these are like you can say like whatever we are doing, they are also doing in terms of like catering first mile, mid mile, last mile. But here specifically when you see our delivery cost is very, very less. So if we see other customers, other competitors, so they used to deliver this packet because they're using fossil fuel vehicle. Obviously it will high. So, but we are able to deliver this packet at 18 rupees. At the same time, when you can see the daily wages from different partners, so it's come somewhere around like they end up with 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. But in our system, ideally they used to earn more than 18,000 rupees. Yeah. So whatever we do for sustainable growth. In that, we take care of planet, we take care of people, we take care of profit. Thank you. Yeah, Shekhar. So I'm done with my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll answer.
Yeah, it's fine. So, firstly, thanks for this wonderful insights. It's amazing work in the ecosystem that is happening. We in India usually try to copy everything from from global sources. We look for what is happening in Singapore, what is happening in um, Europe, but we don't concentrate on what we can do here and what is the right solution for India. And this seems to be an amazing groundwork that you have done in terms of understanding the amount of shared quotient that can be brought onto the vehicle in a way that no one stakeholder is bleeding money in the entire opportunity. So this is really something that with so many vehicles on the field, you have a live use case, you have a live scenario that definitely we feel can be taken all across the country. So, firstly, we give you all the support in order to move it forward. So, Harsh, there are some questions.
Yes. So, good morning, Irfan.
Good morning.
Again, I would like to, if I may request, can I ask you to turn on your camera? Is that
Yes,
possible?
yes, I'm coming.
So I would just like to add to what Shekhar was saying. I think the biggest thing that I sort of drew from your presentation, which was absolutely wonderful, was the fact that you're actually concentrating on the folks who are going to be using the vehicles, right? Making sure that there is a way for them to learn or understand about EVs. I don't think in all these, all this time that we've been doing tech talks or all the companies that we've read about or heard about in this space, I don't think anybody really touches upon that area where the person who's going to actually use the vehicle needs to understand how it works and what goes into it. So that's absolutely fantastic. We usually have a set of questions that we go through, but I see that I'm with your presentation. I'm sure the audience has too many, so I'm just going to have one or two from my end, and then we'll roll into some audience questions. Okay. Uh, my first one is to do with I mean, you've of course covered ground so well, and you already have some real world experience. Uh, Not to play devil's advocate, but what do you see as teething issues, right? Like for a system for a basically for an ecosystem like this to work. Uh, from an awareness standpoint, for my last mile delivery folks, how they can interact or learn more about it, or how easy is it to be able to sign up for one and have and start using it. So from that perspective, what do you what sort of issues have you faced, or what do you see? How seamless do you think that is or can be?
Yes, so as I said, it's very difficult to convince them, take those EV in the ecosystem. So because you also see that petrol vehicles are so robust and it got their own ecosystem. Then whenever they got repaired or damaged, so they will get service in 1 hour or 1 day. So when something happened for EV, so see everybody wants to buy EV these days. You also see that petrol prices are increasing, so people are going to try to get those EVs. The main problem, if you have a choice to buy EV, so the next thing which comes to your mind is there is no ecosystem as such in the country. Everybody is want to capture and replicate the same model what petrol vehicles did so far. But as I said, EV is a different animal. So we need to focus on the ecosystem part where we have to enormously increase the charging stations in terms of like when you compare with petrol vehicles. So you can find a petrol pump in every 1 kilometers or so. So but convincing this last mile delivery executive to turn their vehicle into EV, first we have to work on the retrofit. So if we able to find some good company where they can able to give this solution, so that where they can convert this existing vehicle from fossil fuel to electric. So we can definitely fund the complete retrofit kit. After getting their vehicle retrofit, they can have a subscription of eByGo Care. So how eByGo Care works? If you have a eByGo Care, we give 1 year complete, service, maintenance, and the same time charging, swapping, every services to you, where you have to focus only on deliveries. So that's how actually we can make this happen.
I completely agree with you. I think there is the lack of standardization, and that was actually my follow-up question, right? You mentioned partnering up with Volt, already having done so, and in talks with many, and I'm guessing that Sun Mobility. So from that perspective, there is yet no standardization when it comes to form factor, right? And you said that, of course, if you are looking at installing this infrastructure or building this infrastructure, you would try to have it, make it available for other OEMs as well who could use those same charging stations. But how do you feel in your experience, or in general, what do you think is the ideal way to achieve that sort of standardization, right? Because that's really the biggest issue right now, or challenge.
Say, when we participate in the roundtable meeting, when we help Delhi government to make the EV policy, at that point of time, I mentioned something that we have to make a universal battery, at least for two-wheeler. So I'm not talking about four-wheelers or any other vehicle, but at least for two-wheeler. Two-wheeler is, is also a toy in your home. So like a clock in your home. So as actually we have like AA battery or AAA battery. At the same time, we are also having a same standardized universal battery. Then you can tell someone to buy the vehicle without battery. In that case, people able to the OEM able to produce a very good vehicle compared with very low cost. For example, 50 you paying 50,000, you will get very good vehicle without battery. So the policy has to be changed. If you are going to buy a vehicle, high-speed vehicle, you will get subsidy. So with battery, if you don't want to buy the vehicle without battery, the if you want to buy the vehicle without battery, the vehicle will cost like the vehicle cost plus 28% GST. At the same time, there is no subsidy for them. At the same time, you want to have a spare battery. If you're going to buy a spare battery from the OEM, so you have to pay 18% GST. All this will add like so many layers for the customer. So with government has to think this point where they have to tell the battery OEMs like Exicom or Exide or Amaron to make a universal battery, and we need to tell like already ecosystem player like Sun Mobility or Volta, where they can aggregate this battery across the country, and they will. So if you have a universal battery, you doesn't matter whatever vehicle you are using. So you can swap this battery. In a way, the ecosystem will definitely grow. I am seeing the standardization in terms of battery is very very vital right now.
No, you make a very good, you give a very good analogy of it's being similar to a clock in your home, right? Standardization of batteries. There's only 2 or 3 sets
So
that
I,
you
I
can buy.
tell one more example. So when you see like 10 years back, so whenever you have Nokia mobile, whenever you have Samsung, whenever you have whatever mobile phone, so you have different type of chargers, right?
Hmm.
So end of the day, right now what we have? We have universal charger, type 2. You go and charge your mobile from any charger. That's how it is. So at the same time, so when you're seeing our past, so we have to evolve ourselves very consciously building these universal batteries for at least two-wheelers. You can see what happened in Taiwan. So Gogor is a fantastic vehicle, and it's absolutely like flawless when you swap with their swapping station.
Hmm.
So we have to build that kind of robustness in terms of like deploying the smart BMS into the battery, where anybody can track. So how many kilometers he can driven, how much percentage battery left in the vehicle, everything. But he don't own the battery because battery will degrade day to day.
True.
If you remove the battery, so the vehicle cost will come like for nothing. So you can also see right now what happened. OEMs are trying to balance the vehicle cost, with the fossil fuel vehicles. If some
Hmm.
suppose fossil fuel vehicles are like if you take Activa, if Activa cost is 70,000, they're also coping up to match that 70,000. That's very very problematic situation right now. That's why we can't produce a very good robust vehicle, quality vehicle for the Indian ecosystem. If somebody will take care of this battery problem, then definitely we can make a very good vehicle.
Absolutely, and I think I also believe that it's a difficult thing for OEMs to sell the fact there are two things to to a vehicle, right? There's a cost of purchase and there's a cost of ownership or running cost.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there is a huge advantage, but I think that's something like a difficult sell because everybody is going to look at the list price of the vehicle. So it makes sense that, if you take out the battery equation and make it a cost per kilowatt hour or, cost per kilometer, then it tends to be a lot easier to maybe have people switch or consider them. Okay, I have lot of questions, but so do the audiences. So I mean, so do the participants. So I will ask you one more from my end, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
When you talk of the telematics unit, right, where it is basically a plug and play, can get into any way, it can be fitted into any vehicle, and it's like a seamless option. How, like, just from the sheer logistics standpoint, right? Because you have so many different partners when it comes to the delivery. Like you have Amazon, you have Zomato, Swiggy. Understood that for a driver or a user at the end of the day, it is just as easy as switching from one app to another. But from a outfit that is trying to manage that from a logistic standpoint, how do you see that? How do you make sure that that is robust and there is no issues or potential pitfalls to something like that? Just managing that.
Yes, so ideally when we started, so we also struggled with the same situation, but analyzing the data, if say suppose when we started with 300 vehicles, right now we have 2,400 vehicles. So analyzing the data and seeing the driver behavior, so how he behave. So for example, from the morning when you track the vehicle and track the driver, so the both look same. So but evening if you track the vehicle, so the vehicle looks same. The delivery executive's attitude may different. So he'll drive rash and he will lose his cool. So he don't get adequate deliveries. So then he react something like driving the vehicle very fast or very slow, or he don't put his brakes when the speed breakers comes. All those things we can analyze. Through that, actually, we used to provide the driver behavior score to our executive. So if your driver behavior scores comes under 4.5, will tell him to bhaiya aap ghar jao. So you can't able to drive these vehicles because you are very rude and rash, so you are abusing our vehicles. In terms of that purpose, at the same time, we are giving this business intelligence to businesses as well. So, for example, if Swiggy is committing some sort of 20 deliveries to the delivery executive because where they are paying the minimum guarantee sort of thing, some different cities. So if they can't able to give this 20 deliveries, so he'll get frustrated. At the same time, they know how he's driving, what is his intention, so how long he's driving, what is his commute pattern, all those things. So through that, actually, we'll make some sort of algorithm. So we make sort of an analytics, which helps Swiggy to understand the driver. So, for example, the Swiggy don't give time a person to eat, then definitely Swiggy can, particularly adjust their time in terms of like the driver breakfast time and the driver lunch time and the driver snacks time. All those things will adjust through our system.
No, makes sense. No, no, that's what I was very, I was quite amazed with the sheer scale of the things. That's why and this can be a very tricky area where 7, 8, maybe up to 15 different outfits are being supported via the same system. Okay,
Yeah.
I think it's about time I run into some participant questions because there's a lot of them and I may not be able to catch up. So let's see. Uh, okay, in order of how they came in. Okay, the first one is, what is the criteria for a dealership with deposits or anything as such? What is that? Like, how does
No,
can
I
someone?
want to clear to audience as well as everyone in the country. So having being like when I named it e-bike go, I want to make it very simple. So it's an electric bike and go. So that's why I kept this name. So after keeping this name, so every here and there people are asking, we are the manufacturers and we are making vehicles and they want dealership. It's absolutely not. So we are also sourcing this vehicle from Hero, Ampere, all those guys, and we are equipping with the technology and we'll make this easy to our end user. That's what we are doing. So sorry, we don't produce vehicles and we don't give dealerships.
Okay. Okay, this is next one is from Indranil. Is asking, what sort of running costs are you looking at, and the range? I think you've already touched on that.
Yes, I already considered. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, Mr. Bharat, can you explain the cost of EV life, power cost, and vehicle cost and delivery? So overall purchase and ownership cost.
So it's again depend like how you drive and how many kilometers you rode. So all those things actually matter. So ideal use case when you see, so if you're driving this vehicle for 70 kilometers, so it's come somewhere around 4 to 5 years. So that's what actually our previous vehicle. When we started 2017, still we are using the same vehicle, doing the proper maintenance, all those things. At the same time, energy cost, you also know that if you have a 2 kilowatt hour battery, if you have 1 kilowatt hour battery, it's very. So ideal case, if you're driving for 70 kilometers, it costs somewhere around 20 paisa to 30 paisa to charge those batteries. So the battery cycle is right now we are using LFP instead of NMC. So in that, what happened? It will the OEM claims somewhere around 2000 cycle. Ideally, what we do, we used to charge like one time or 1.5 time a day. So that the battery will last for 3 to 4 years because first lithium-ion battery we started in 2018. So right now it got like 70% holding capacity.
Okay. All right. Just one moment. Wow, there are a lot of questions today.
No. I love to answer.
Okay.
So you please, you can ask.
Yes. Can you explain the delivery charge of rupees 17.8 per hour in more details? As a thumb
No,
rule, how
it's
much
not
does
per
delivery?
hour. It's not per hour. So basically, the TOC, total cost of ownership. So when you see with the petrol vehicle to EV, so I'll explain the journey of a petrol vehicle. So you used to purchase this vehicle in upfront paying 10,000 or 15,000, which is 10 to 15%. At the same time, it will come somewhere around 2,400 to 3,000 rupees as a EMI. This is one part. We used to calculate that. At the same time, if you are delivering 20 packet, you have to commute 75 kilometers. That's ideal case scenario. For that, actually, you need to put like 1.5 liters petrol, which comes to 150 rupees a day. So if you're working for 25 days, so you have to, put 4,150 rupees for petrol and 2,500 rupees for EMI and 700 rupees for service. The total cost of ownership will come 8,000 rupees. So getting e-bike go from our side, we are providing the same vehicle for 3,600 and 3,700 rupees. If you are delivery executive, you just log in, you upload your document, you get those vehicle and you work. This is one model. If you want to work with us as a delivery executive, you come and work. So what happened when we pay to the delivery executive? After paying delivery executive, if we calculate, so if you calculate with any other people doing with the petrol vehicle, it's come somewhere around 22 rupees to 27 rupees per delivery, according to their vehicle. If your new vehicle, it's come 22 rupees. If old vehicle, it's come 27 rupees. But for e-bikes, so we calculate with 300 vehicles, with 300 delivery executives. Our per delivery cost uh, will was come down to 17 rupees 80 paisa. That's what we mentioned.
Fair enough. Okay, so next one is from Mr. Pradeep. He says it's an excellent business model. Following queries are what I have, which is to do with first of all is maintenance, as to who takes ownership of the maintenance of the vehicle and the powertrain, of course. And secondly is how do you see scaling this up for three-wheelers or up to three-wheeler applications?
Absolutely. So there is a lot more player in three-wheelers. You also see that in Delhi and Delhi NCR, so many people are working in three-wheelers. So I encourage everybody have to shift from one point to second point. But in two-wheeler ecosystem, we are focusing with our technology. At the same time, you ask about the service and maintenance. So we used to take care of service and maintenance because we have that expertise from 3 4 years. At the same time, we have a different set of insurance models. So if you go for a regular insurance, it won't cover your complete vehicles. If you go for like, the different type of insurance policies where it covers complete, service and maintenance as well.
Okay. Uh, Next one is, okay, this is something that tends to get thrown up a lot. Okay, from a policy, a government policy, infrastructure. I think we talked about, but main from a policy perspective, as to make any technology viable to people, I think that's something that requires clarity. How are you? What sort of challenges have you faced there, and how do you see that improving?
Can you repeat again? Some network
Sorry,
issue.
sorry,
Uh,
sorry. Am
I
I
turn off
audible
the
now?
video.
Actually,
Yeah,
let me
yeah, go
turn
on.
off my camera. Maybe that will help. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, absolutely not.
Okay. So this is a question from Mr. Amol Kulkarni. I think it is to do with two things. One is policy and second is infrastructure. We've already discussed the infrastructure part, but from a policy standpoint, right? How do you think? I'm sure you've also faced your share of challenges because there is lack of standardization still. But how do you see that improving? What's the best way forward there?
One point of time we had a roundtable meeting, as I said, so
Yes.
in South India Bhavan. So what happened? Everything went very good before COVID. So we also get very good traction from the government, and government definitely willing to support the ecosystem. But right now, due to COVID, everybody went standstill, and the policies, decision making, everything is like slow down. But it will go away. So definitely one point of time, actually, you may expect some sort of incentive for kilometer, pay per kilometer sort of thing. So which we also told some policy maker, we can enable this technology in every vehicle where they can track this vehicle, how the person is commuting, how many kilometers they are commuting. Instead of giving upfront incentive in terms of subsidies, payment to subsidies, they can give uh, whenever the rider used to ride the vehicle. If, for example, you are riding the vehicle for 30 kilometers a day, you will get 30 rupees incentive. So it will help you to pay the EMI. So that's how actually we plan. If that's happened, so definitely it's nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So how do you, so the next question is to do with the scale up plans. So how are you seeing this scale up? Is there any plans to also, get into other modes of ownership, or is it solely going to be focused at last mile delivery?
Yes, so actually, as I said, like when I thought to fix air pollution, I started to fix vehicular pollution. The same time when we see vehicles, so when I see two-wheeler, so likewise, like so right now when we are doing last mile, so definitely we can focus on B2B as well as B2C. So definitely, so our scaling up plan is like very very rapid. So as I said, like we have identified these 30 cities. So definitely we are having a solution, but during COVID actually we are going sort of slow. So most probably from next year you can see the tremendous growth in terms of EV adoption through e-bike go.
Okay.
Because we made that robust system Harsh, where a person come and buy those vehicle and deploy in a platform. We integrate with our technology. So we aggregate those vehicles to B2B, B2C companies and B2 those who are working for the B2B companies. Then we'll get
Mhm.
the rent and we'll distribute the rent to the partner program. So all those things will happen.
Fantastic. I think the next question is more to do with again the logistics of it than the technology part of it, if that's okay. I'm not going to take any names, but I in past experiences while using ride hailing services, there's been a lot of chatter and talk about how the person the driver basically, right, in this case the last mile delivery person. But in case of ride hailing services, there often there's news and there's talk about digital payments being an issue, and delays in stuff like that, and drivers not being taken care of. Is there anything different that you are doing to tackle that? with your setup?
Absolutely. When you are doing yourself, so you have to face all those problems. When you're doing for someone's, because their systems are already robust. For
Hmm.
example, I'm doing for Big Basket, so I'm using Big Basket app. I'm doing for Swiggy, so I'll use Swiggy app. So the system is very robust, so we can rely on that system. At the same time, our business model is driver centric. So we are like we treat the delivery executive as a guard in our system. So we provide all good damn things for them to keep them alive. To that's the reason last time I told you. So we have seen some doctors are enrolling as a delivery executives to deliver the parcel to COVID patients. That's fantastic, right? So they just log in a system and they get these vehicles for 3 4 days and they get food and they deliver to some COVID patients. It's fantastic. So that's the thing. Actually, we are, as I said, like we are sustainable. We are planning for the sustainable growth where we consider people, planet, profit.
No, that's very good to hear, because at the end of the day, for it to work out, or for it to be a seamless, from technology as well as ownership perspective, I think that's an area that definitely requires that. Okay, I think we've the questions won't end, but I think we've sort of come to a very close, as far as time goes. But I do have one last one from from one of our guests. How is Ola e-bike going to be different? Do you have any views on that?
See, we are embrace almost all the OEMs, including Ola, including Ather, including every damn OEMs in the country, as well as all the battery manufacturers, everyone. So we embrace everybody. We don't want to conquest them. So we embrace in a platform. Anybody can come and we are like getting the demand data from the customer, process the data. Accordingly, we will buy these vehicles from all the OEMs. Like sometimes we'll buy OEMs vehicles from Ola, sometimes we'll buy vehicles from Ather, sometimes we'll buy vehicles from Hero. But we will fulfill the end user demand. If some delivery executive wants to deliver those parcels to Ather, definitely we'll provide Ather. So in a website also, you can have that clear insight. In our website, we have 3 4 vehicle option. So if you go, so if you are doing some sort of delivery services, so you can get the purposely built vehicle. If you are working for you are working as a medical representative, you can get like Ampere Zeal. So you
Right.
have a choice.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
fantastic. All right. So the next one is more about information, I guess. Is from there, can your device work in a commercial vehicle? There. Can you speak up, please? Which device are you talking about? Is it telematics
The
or
IoT device, yes.
yeah? And of
So
course, he's
absolutely,
so
the device is work for any sort of vehicle. So it's just a device. If you are, if you deploy this vehicle with any commercial vehicle, it definitely works. So almost all the part are very very similar. So what we made change, we connected this with low frequency, which did not required the battery power, as well as we connected with our BMS system. So we have different ports and we have different set of sensors in the vehicle where we can detect the path holes, and we deployed the 6-axis gyroscope where we can balance the vehicle. So all those things will happen. So these are like tailor made. If you have a commercial vehicle, so definitely it's not just tracking device. It's more than that.
okay. I actually have a follow up to that, if you don't mind. From a plug and play standpoint, because you mentioned diagnostics, right? Um, it's usually, and again, with lack of standardization and stuff, but even when there is standardization, it's difficult to have diagnostics set up in an equipment with varying vehicles,
Yeah,
right?
we
So
have
one may
a
not work.
Raspberry Pi as a microcontroller where we'll process sort of data in vehicle itself. At the same time, we'll pull the data to our server. We will make analytics in that server's data.
Right. Okay. All right. Right, Irfan. I think we've come to pretty much a close for the day. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time. It's been and I'm still very amazed by the the amount of thought that has gone into it, and absolutely every aspect that has been uh, thought of, taken care of, and at least from my personal end, absolute very best wishes, and I hope that this is something that proliferates, because it definitely looks like a great thing, not just for the environment but also for people who for them it's about a job and wages and stuff like that. Again, Shekhar, do you have anything to add?
Harsh, I
So,
would
Harsh,
like
I
to
request
request.
one thing.
Yes.
Shekhar, you mentioned. Harsh, I request one thing. So, I have seen so many questions being unanswered. So, can you
Uh-huh.
please take all these questions and send to me? I'll tell my CEO office where they can, like, answer those questions and send it to you, so you can send those answers to the particular stakeholders.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Irfan, once again.
Thank you, Shekhar. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Have a good day. Bye.
Okay.